If you've visited the Vatican Museums and admired their vast collection of art and sculpture, you've certainly come across the Raphael rooms. Located on the second floor of the Vatican Palace, the School of Athens is one of the most impressive works I have ever seen with my own eyes. I don't say this because of its monumental size, occupying almost an entire wall of one of the rooms in the Vatican Museum. The School of Athens occupies one of the walls of what was once the library and study of Pope Julius II in the Apostolic Palace of the Vatican. On each of the four walls of this room, there is a fresco painted by Raffaello Sanzio. These four paintings are considered Raphael's major works, and the School of Athens is regarded as one of the most important of the Renaissance, precisely because it represents the revival of classical thought and the search for new truth elements that define this period. For any analysis of this work, it is necessary first to understand who all the characters are. We will do that, but not yet. First, try to absorb the initial impressions this painting evokes. Let's begin by understanding a sensation almost everyone feels when observing the School of Athens, that of depth, not metaphorical depth, but literal. Raphael painted on a flat wall, yet the columns and architectural design of the painting astonish us with their illusion of space. There are many figures portrayed in it. Let's start with the statues located in each corner of the fresco. The statue on the left is Apollo, god of music, hence the lyre and light. He represents the illumination of knowledge, philosophical enlightenment, and the civilizing power of reason. The statue on the right is Minerva, or Athena to the Greeks, goddess of wisdom, who presides over peace and defense. She commonly appears in depictions of institutions dedicated to knowledge and artistic pursuit. These two statues are the symbolic gateway to the school, representing philosophy itself and its importance to the world. The fresco portrays theologians engaged in reconciling philosophy and astrology with theology. In this painting, all the sages of the world are represented, organized in different groups and engaged in various debates. In the far left corner, we see an interesting scene. The white-bearded man, somewhat hidden, is Zeno of Citium, founder of the Stoic school, which sought a life full of virtue. The other man, who seems to be writing in a book, is Epicurus, one of the most important Greek philosophers of the Hellenistic period. His philosophy centered on the pursuit of happiness, distancing oneself from pain and approaching pleasure. At least two figures in the School of Athens can be immediately identified in the center. The white-bearded man holding a copy of Plato's Timaeus is unmistakably Plato, while the younger man beside him, holding the Ethics, must be his student, Aristotle. Plato points upward, representing the world of ideas. For him, the real world is the rational world of ideal forms, existing above men. One can only perceive it through deep, rational reflection. Aristotle gestures downward, showing that what matters is the earthly life. Our actions in this world as we pursue eudaimonia, the supreme happiness, which is not a life of pleasure, wealth, or honors. The painting is clearly divided into two halves, with Plato and Aristotle at the center of this division. The placement of each figure in the fresco respects these two philosophical schools. For example, Socrates, dressed in green on the left side of the painting, stands on Plato's side, which makes sense, since Plato was his main disciple. This division also reflects the two main philosophical approaches. Plato advocates a sense of timelessness, while Aristotle focuses on the physical reality of life and the present world. In other words, Plato represents theoretical and abstract philosophy, whereas Aristotle represents natural and empirical philosophy. According to tradition, Plato's face was modeled after Leonardo da Vinci, while the dark, brooding figure seated below him, to the left of center, is believed to be Michelangelo, probably representing the melancholic philosopher Heraclitus. Some argue this is indeed Michelangelo. Raphael also included a bold self-portrait in the School of Athens, along with several figures from his circle. Bramante, for example, is depicted unflatteringly as the bold father of geometry. Absorbed in drawing a circle with his compass, we are on firmer ground with Pythagoras, the studious figure thought to be Saint Matthew, the evangelist during the 16th century. has at his feet a tablet with harmonic proportions and sacred ratios used by the Pythagoreans. A closer look confirms this identification. Another easily recognizable figure is Diogenes, the cynic, who made extreme poverty a virtue, begged to survive, and owned only a wooden bowl until, realizing even that was unnecessary. Since he could cup his hands to drink water, Diogenes is best known through colorful anecdotes, as none of his writings have survived. What is this old man reading, and why? The short white shape, perhaps a folded sheet, a bundle of papers, or a pamphlet might simply be a compositional device for visual balance, or it might carry a hidden meaning. Some scholars argue that this is not Diogenes, but Socrates. A more likely candidate for Socrates is the intense-looking figure in an olive-green tunic, with a hooked nose, resembling ancient portraits of the philosopher that Raphael likely knew. He speaks to a helmeted young man, sometimes identified as Alexander the Great, though more plausibly as Alcibiades, Socrates' rebellious studentor, wearing green and blue. We see Aeschines of Sphetus, one of Socrates' disciples, who was present at his trial and execution. With his back turned and dressed in yellow, holding a globe, is Ptolemy. Although we can't see his face, the globe suggests he is the famous scientist from Alexandria, one of the first to record celestial movements and create maps facing him. Dressed in white, and also holding a globe, this one depicting stars is another figure of uncertain identity. The first and most likely possibility is Strabo, the ancient Greek historian, geographer, and philosopher, author of the monumental Geographica, a 17-volume work detailing the lands and peoples known at the time. Above this group stands an elderly man in red, possibly Plotinus, one of the main philosophers of the Neoplatonic tradition. Considered one of Greece's greatest thinkers, he died in 278, leaving notable works exploring his ideas about the three principles of existence. The one, the intellect, and the soul. Raphael was the most influential painter of the Italian Renaissance. His work embodies balance, order, harmony, and classical restraint. Raphael is of special interest to classicists. We know what Cicero and Julius Caesar looked like from busts and coins. But the Greek tradition is different. We have few reliable portraits of statesmen, poets, or other figures beyond Socrates, Alexander the Great, and a handful of others whose images have survived. Raphael could not rely on archaeological evidence for most philosophers' faces except Socrates, nor was there any established iconographic tradition providing ready-made attributes or symbols for easy identification. In his depictions of Plato and Aristotle, Raphael created an entirely new iconographic tradition, yet the rest of his painting remains surprisingly ambiguous, elusive, and enigmatic, refusing to easily reveal its secrets.